What's up, everybody, and welcome to another awesome segment of The Wise Men Let's Talk It Out, featuring me, myself. I'm DeMaTT. I'm one of the many that is a part of The Wise Men. We are missing out on, well, we're not missing out, but the other two guys are Jesse and Louie. Love you guys. Wouldn't be much of anything without those boys. Today's show is on the World Economic Forum and the global agenda, and we're going to go over an extensive amount of information today. Hopefully I can kind of cram it in and keep it within the hour so that we don't get too long-winded here. It's going to be maybe some things you know, maybe some things that you're going to learn. It's going to be awesome stuff. Today we're going to be investigating and breaking down the World Economic Forum, who they are, what do they do, the context of their budgeting, basically who kind of like runs the world, and things, you know, within the forum, you know, and who are the main components, the main figures of the forum. People like Klaus Schwab, Yuvaldi Harari, and many more people. So again, I appreciate everyone for joining. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like the video, share it with your friends. And without further ado, let's just get into it and let's talk it out. So, a few things. Going into the past 3-4 years, ever since 2020, you know, we obviously see that there was a global pandemic. Everyone was kind of confined into their homes. Everyone was locked down. People had more time on their hands to basically be on the computers, be on their phones, try and be on social media more. And really, a lot of businesses were kind of started that way. And not only businesses, but a lot of businesses were also shut down. And a lot more people were browsing the internet. A lot of other free thinkers, you know, had much more time on their hands. And it kind of started, the World Economic Forum started to kind of not get exposed per se, but a lot of things about the World Economic Forum were becoming revealed. And one thing that is interesting about all of this stuff is I don't think they necessarily wanted to have as much attention as they do have now, but I do think that they've always said their plans. They've always had these meetings. They've always been public about a lot of this information. It's just a lot of people didn't really understand or have the outlet to kind of see what it is that they were doing. And so, I mean, we're going to cover a lot today, from things like the future of our monetary system, what they specifically believe in, you know, a lot of predictions that they are making specifically to Klaus Schwab. It's kind of like he's some sort of like prophetic figure, and he's been pretty spot on with all of his predictions. And they're not really predictions. They're saying this is going to happen by this time. And it is what it is. They use words like must, will, you know, there's a lot of security around the terms that they use. So to kind of dive into the World Economic Forum, it was created, and the CEO and chairman of the World Economic Forum is Klaus Schwab. It was founded in 1971 as a non-for-profit foundation and is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. When I think of this location specifically, if you know anything of history and the development of the nations in the area, the demographics of the area, this is kind of like where they say the seat of Satan, the throne of Satan, is located. This is where a lot of other things too are located, like CERN, which is the world's biggest hadron collider. And it just, I mean, those two things alone, I can do a whole nother segment, which we'll probably get to in the future. The World Economic Forum was originally called the European Management Forum, and initially Schwab's focus was for the meetings to talk about how the European firms could catch up to the United States and to kind of merge and to kind of build upon how the United States management practices were going about. Because, I mean, America is the best country in the world, right? I mean, I have to say that. I'm kind of American. But we're going to go over some of their mission statements and what they mean, what they say. And so their mission statement is it's engages business, political, academic, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industry agendas. The mission statement is committed to improve the state of the world. So, like, they say things like this. It's kind of like if there was a committee, if there was a council that was behind the scenes in some hierarchy with unlimited power, this is kind of like how they talk. This is how they discuss things. And we'll go over who's involved. We'll go over what companies, what corporations, and it'll really kind of give a big, vivid picture of really how big this forum truly, truly is. Like, so far, this all sounds kind of noble, right? This all kind of sounds pretty good. DMATT, you're overreacting. Take your tinfoil hat off your head. You know, just relax. This is something to better the world. This is going to progress the world. This is going to make it a much better world, a better place to live. It's going to bring inclusion. It's going to bring everyone together, right? And it's all fabricated. It's all BS, in my opinion. It really is, you know, the cheese to the trap, in my opinion. This is the way that this council, this forum, is building up their system. It's going to be mostly, if not fully, against your freedoms. And especially in today's world, like, our freedoms, it's like let me make a comparison in the past, right? So if people were trying to take your freedoms away, if countries were trying to, if governments were trying to take your freedoms away, there was a lot of revolutions, there was a lot of war, there was a lot of bloodshed. And it's just not fought that way anymore. It's not covered like you would think today. They have to have a different type of approach, right? So the way I see this is that, you know, they're not taking it away with force anymore, but it's going to be an inclusive operation where you really don't have a choice. And, you know, the leaders of the world are now going to use a different tactic. They're going to be more psychological. They're going to be more influential. It's kind of like when I listened to, it was an interview once with a Russian ex-KGB operative, and he discussed how basically Russia and the government took full control over their nation, and the people did not fight back as you would think a normal, strong-willed set of people would have done, right? And it's called active measures. So it's a demoralization process. It's a destabilization process. And then it's a normalization process. So these three things kind of take place in a domino effect, but they take place to bring in those specific agendas that those governments want to do, and to kind of have the people in a way vote for it. I mean, it has the people in a way rallying up to what it is they want to do. And so the World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab, they've made many predictions, okay? And specifically for the time frame of 2030, which this kind of also goes in line with Agenda 21 and their time frame, and how they see the world as to be with their SDGs, their sustainable development goals, so on and so forth. I think I am going to do a show in the future on sustainable development goals, United Nations, and that group at itself, because all of this does tie in together. There's these, you know, compartmentalized groups, but they're not really compartmentalized. They're not blocked off from each other. It's a span of control thing. That's how I kind of see it. So let's go over some of the predictions that Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum have discussed and said. And none of this is conspiracy. Like, this is all of this is on their website. This is all public information. And I do have videos today to show you that they say these things themselves. Okay, there's no hiding any of this stuff. You know, there is no need to wear a tinfoil hat. Okay, so we'll go over number one. The most famous prediction that many talk about today is you'll own nothing and you'll be happy by 2030. This is what Klaus Schwab says. What does he mean? DMATT, what the heck does that mean? Well, since we are moving to a digital currency, since we are moving to a tokenized asset system, I can start to see more clearly that how this is starting to make sense. Okay, it's going to be a voucher rented out digital public infrastructure set system. Okay, if you don't know anything about digital public infrastructure, DPI, go back to my last Let's Talk It Out, and I do talk about the G20 and basically what they say about that term. Number two, the US won't be the world's ending superpower. I'm sorry, the US won't be the world's leading superpower. Instead, a handful of countries will dominate. Yes, I just said that. This is what they're saying. The US won't be the world's leading superpower anymore. And wow, isn't that kind of weird? We see the dollar going down. We see the BRICS nations are coming together, and there's a lot more countries that are jumping on bandwagon with those people. But this is all orchestrated. It's all orchestrated. Okay, our world is ran and controlled by people with a upper hierarchy, and we are the bottom of the food chain. We are that bottom foundation of the pyramid, which means that they do need us, and we do outnumber them, and we could possibly win if we did have the moral strength, but I don't think it's there anymore. I think it's completely it's demoralized. So number three, you won't die waiting for an organ donor. Instead, we want transplant organs. We will print new ones. It made me think of that movie. I think I watched it yesterday actually at work, and we were pretty slow during the day, and I actually got to get through the whole movie. It's the movie called Extinction, and it's about like a dude who he's an AI robot, but he thinks he's human. He doesn't know it until the end of the movie. Okay, and this is going in accordance with the transhumanism movement. This is where we'll get into it too, and I'll show you some videos that they believe that we are hackable animals, and this is going to be done through genetic editing and a huge spectrum of what they want to do, and especially in the medical advances and the medical system. Number four, you'll eat much less meat. Yes, they want to take our meat away. They want to change the entire food pyramid, and they also want to make people eat bugs. And I'm sorry for all you meat lovers out there. This sucks. And remember, they use the words inclusion, so there's really nothing much you can do about it, because this whole system is going to be ran by a corporate stakeholder system, and we'll go over that too here later on. And plus, there's so many medical benefits from meat. You know, there's so many medical benefits from red meat, especially. And this is delusional. This is dumb. This is not right. Number five, 1 billion people will be displaced by climate change. And what do we see now going on, especially in Saudi Arabia, right? We see the construction of what's called Edom. And this is going to be, I think it's like 200 and something mile long, or maybe it's 100 and something mile long. Don't quote me on that, but it's a compacted environment, 15-minute city ideology, where they're going to locate people and to take them away from certain demographic areas, certain rural areas, and they're going to condense everything into specific areas. This also kind of like made me think of not only 15-minute cities, but like FEMA camps and all this other stuff. What do they mean by this? This has got so much, speculation to it. And they're not specific on these things. And they also say we'll have to do a better job at welcoming and integrating refugees. So it's crazy stuff. Number 6 is polluters will have to pay to emit carbon dioxide. Remember, folks, you're a carbon-based life form. You're going to have to pay a tax just for living and just for breathing. Remember that. When you exhale, you're exhaling the gas CO2. When you inhale, it's oxygen with a lot of other types of, nitrogen, hydrogen, all this other stuff that the atmosphere is made of. They also say there will be a global price on carbon, and this will make fossil fuels complete history. Okay? We already see the war against fossil fuels. We see it on a political level. We see it especially on a cultural level now. I mean, we've got people out on the roads that are protesting, that these people are so influenced. I mean, they're doing a good job with the psychological warfare that they are pushing on these people, okay? And when I say people, me too. I mean, everyone that's a part of society, right? They're trying to change society, okay? Number 7, you could be preparing to go to Mars. Scientists would have worked out how to keep you healthy in space, the start of a journey to find alien life. So, 3-part prediction here. This made me think of the movie Elysium. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's with Matt Damon. It's about the peasant class, the useless eater class, the useless class, okay? Which I will also show you, number 2 in position with the World Economic Forum, Mr. Harari. I call him number 2 because Klaus Schwab is Dr. Evil. And so if you ever seen the movie Austin Powers, you got Dr. Evil, you've got and you've got number 2, right? So there's always like some sort of second in command of this structure of evil. Number 8 is Western values will have been tested to the breaking point. Checks and balances that underpin our democracies must not be forgotten. So why do they specifically say Western values, right? Because, well, me personally, I'm a Christian. That's my background. And Western values have morals. Western values, if anything, are the opposition to their plan, to what they want to do, and to their whole entire global agenda. And it's gonna they have this new revamped version of capitalism, which is the stakeholder capitalism. Okay, this is coming from especially a book from Klaus Schwab, which we'll definitely get in that book here later in the show. And it's a deconstruction of republic. It's a new construction and fabrication of democracy. And this is the delusion, okay? And especially ever since the United States specifically started to be noticed more of a democracy, people have been demoralized, and it's now normalized that they don't even know that we're a republic, okay? We're a constitutional republic. That nothing, no man, no woman, no dictator, no ruler, no king is going to have the ability to overthrow our constitution. But a lot of that's all been skewed and it's been messed up in the past. And really, I even think it's not as strong as it was set to be. Okay. So let's go over, we just went over predictions. Let's go over some objectives. This is kind of like their purpose, okay, and why they want to do things, how they want to do things, okay? So globalism, net zero, and the reimagining of capitalism. Remember I said the whole like deconstruction of republic and new construction of like democracy. It's crazy, okay? I mean, dude, this is all being talked about by someone who also has like never ran a business. This is like a huge business proposal in a global agenda form. And it's insane how they're so, number one, they're straight up about it, okay? And it's insane that the guy proposing this has never had any history, experience, or anything running a business, a part of capitalism. If anything, maybe I can do another segment down the road about his family history and who he comes from and who he originates from, okay? Klaus Schwab is not a very good person, okay? He says a lot of good things, comes off good, okay? It's like an evil man behind a suit, it looks good, looks nice, looks like he's got his stuff together, but he means no good. And a lot of interesting things when it comes to that. And it's like things like they're only going to, this is only going to hurt true business owners. This is only going to hurt the small business owners. And the biggest thing that I can compare this new revamp of capitalism, it's like when we saw during 2020. A lot of small business owners got shut down. They were what's called non-essential, okay? And it's just going to be the same trend, all right? It's going to be that this is going to hurt small businesses. Small businesses are going to shut down. And what do you know is left after the rubble, right? Is the big corporations, the big businesses. And what did we see in 2020? Which ones were open and that were claimed to be essential? Walmart, Costco, Sam's, all of these big corporate merchants, okay? The next objective also, other than kind of destroying our awesome capitalism in the western side of the world, not specifically, but a revamp of it, the next objective is a slow population growth, okay? And this is their words, people. This isn't me. This isn't specifically saying, you know, depopulation. Depopulation is like, in a way, like genocide, in my opinion. I mean, just genocide can be done in all different kinds of ways. Okay, we're going to get into some specifics too. It's not about someone coming and using force anymore. It's not about Mao, or it's not about Hitler. It's not about these figures that were genociding significant amount of people off of the earth. This is a slow population growth and depopulation all merged into one. And in my opinion, it's fabricated through things that we as the people use and are a part of on an everyday basis, okay? It can go from our food systems, it can go on to all kinds of systems here, okay? And we can see in the past few years that the exposure of depopulation has been significant, okay? And it's been significant with a few people, and I'm sure if anyone knows what I'm talking about or who I'm about to say, we're talking about Bill Gates, okay? And you know, they talk about these things in the World Economic Forum meetings. I mean, there's other people than Bill Gates talking about depopulating, that we have too many people in the world, that it's not a sufficient amount of people in the world. And this kind of stuff is not only scary, but it's immoral. It's even, in a way, they see it as ethical, but I think their definition of ethics is their own definition, okay? It seems that eugenics also has been demoralized, and it's becoming like more of a normalized thing. I mean, if we have our corporations and we have our hierarchies talking about these things more, the people behind them, if we're talking about span of control, right? Like, they're just going to fall in line. They're just going to be more normalized to this type of talk, and they're going to probably propagate it. They're going to probably be advocates for it, okay? Now, Gates, he's also talked about and he's stated that this process can also be achieved significantly, this is his word, significantly, through the forms of healthcare, Planned Parenthood, and vaccines. So you see those three things right there? Healthcare, Planned Parenthood, and vaccines. These are advocated today as good things. This is something that all of society needs to be a part of. It's, in a way, covering the term inclusion. Another thing here, another objective, okay, that they do talk about is, quote, humans are now hackable animals. And this is coming specifically from Harari's mouth. This is number 2 in position with the World Economic Forum. This is not speaking as an objective that's necessarily, a bad thing, but because they propagate it to be something that's so good and convincing, but it's a huge part of their agenda. Okay, this is talking about the transhumanism part of things. All right, this statement is said by, like I said, Harari, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna play a clip here. Stand by.
The most important thing to know about living in the 21st century is that humans are now hackable animals. To hack a human being means to understand that human better than he or she understand themselves, which was never possible in history before on a massive scale. I mean, on an individual level, yes. My mother, at least until a certain age, knew me better than I knew myself. And that was good, because her interests were aligned with mine. And then after a certain age, it's not so good if your mother still knows you better than you.
All right, so he clearly says it right out of his own mouth. I'm not the conspiracy guy here. I'm just pointing out some simple facts, okay? I mean, humans are now hackable animals. Well, DMATT, how can they hack us? Isn't that only something that you could do through technology or whatever? You got to remember, like, our DNA is a code. I mean, the scientists today compare it almost identically as, computer software. It's almost like that there's some sort of, not binary code, because that's computing technology. It's different. It's slightly different, but it kind of acts in a similar way. Okay. And what have we seen, especially in the past 3-4 years? Genetic editing, right? So genetic editing, huge part of their agenda. And we're going to show you here a clip also from Klaus Schwab talking about genetic editing.
Discussion on big data.
Yeah.
It shows how difficult it is to find the necessary rules, to find the necessary norms.
And look at things like artificial intelligence.
Exactly.
And robots. Look at things like gene editing.
Exactly.
Opening a whole new horizon for medical science.
And you see, the difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take genetic editing,
right.
Just as an example, it's you who are changed. Yeah. And of course, this has a big impact on your identity.
Yeah. And offers certain kinds of possibilities that have to be careful about. When you began to do that kind of gene editing, some people worry that you are changing what it means to be human.
That's the problem. Of course, the new industrial revolution offers us many opportunities, but it raises manifold questions on the ethical, but even legal implications. And we have to be prepared for it. And that's what we want to do in Davos next year.
So the reason people come...
Okay. Take a deep breath. Relax. It's going to be fine. How I see these people, and I say this endlessly, but these people are trying to be God. These people are trying to be some sort of God entity. They're trying to be... And what's funny is they're trying to alter the creation, in my opinion. And this kind of like constantly goes back to Genesis 6, right? Where the gods came down and they kind of got intermingled, the gods or the angels, right? So, which I believe they're angels, that they came down and they interacted with man. And it's all about disrupting the creation, because there's an ultimate goal and plan behind that, but I'm not going to get into that at this time. So moving on, let's talk about their operation, and let's talk about how do they organize and discuss these things. Is this behind closed doors? When do they meet up? All this kind of stuff. So the World Economic Forum, they meet every year at the same time, located in Davos. Okay, Davos is located also in Switzerland. Here they convene regional summits and industry summits and other events around the world. And there's people involved in this kind of stuff. There's even actors. Leonardo DiCaprio is also a reoccurring member. And the majority of their funding is provided by the world's most significant, this is what I'm going to use, the world's most significant business entities who join the forum as members and partners in order to participate. And think of it like if, think of it as shareholders in a company. These are the members this is in comparison to members that are buying into the World Economic Forum. A say that they have is not, it's not specifically important to the forum, or what am I trying to say? They can't just pull strings in the forum. There's an obvious chain of command to that structure, but it's the influence that these people do have on the forum. Okay. And approximately 1,000 corporations hold memberships. Okay. And just to give you a few and these are huge names, you'll know who I'm talking about, is Google, Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon, and many others. And I'm going to spiel out, it's going to be a little dry section, maybe 30 seconds of corporations I'm going to go through. And I think it's important to name all of those. It definitely puts a lot of different things in perspective about this entire operation. Okay. Now, one thing that I did find interesting about these 4 corporations, which I think they're the 4 main corporations, I think they hold the most power: Google, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon. Okay. How I compare these corporations to purpose, is Google being AI, Apple being personal devices, okay, Microsoft computing software, right, and Amazon buying and selling. Okay. So we have AI, personal devices, computing software, and buying and selling. If y'all don't know Revelation and read it, just go read it. Take a look at it. It's like Revelation 13 if it was able to be compared in our day and age at this time. Now, a lot of this stuff hasn't come together as like a beast system yet, and nothing is forced upon us yet, but the groundwork is being done. The infrastructure is being set. That's the whole purpose of these forums, these congregations, these councils. This is their purpose. And I think that they're also being led by forces that are no good, and I think that they're being led by forces that appear as good. Okay, they appear friendly, they appear like an angel of light, per se. All right. So these memberships and partnership fees, they vary across the board, from as much as people paying $60,000 annually to even companies that are paying $595,000 annually. Okay, and in 2022, there were approximately 2,000 delegates, including, these are people: Al Gore, John Kerry, Christine Lagarde, Jens Stoltenberg, Ursula von der Leyen, Henry Kissinger, Council of Foreign Relations, George Soros, Council of Foreign Relations, and many more high-profile names. Okay, but we're just gonna name a few that have a huge impact. And as a side note, it's like so many question, like why are there so many influential companies, right? Why so many high-profile figures in the forum, and why are they wasting their money like on doing this, right? And it's like what I said about earlier. I think that there's forces that are manipulating these people and pushing these people in this direction. I think the world's being pushed in this direction. It's like the spirit of Antichrist is already here, and it's been working. Okay. Now, this also makes me think too, like a lot of this has to deal with money, right? It has a lot to deal with finances and a lot of money and people with huge amounts of wealth, right? And it's like from 1 Timothy 6:10, where the love of money is the root of all evil, right? Very, very interesting stuff. And another thing too is in Psalms 2, it also talks about that the kings of the earth set themselves and rulers counsel together against the Lord and his people. And so this is why especially nowadays, like we have this great awakening. I think this great awakening is huge. I think it's God's spirit pouring out upon the people, and people are starting to wake up. And I think that they're starting to notice the bullcrap. They're starting to notice the light and the dark, the good and the bad, the moral from the immoral, right? And crazy stuff. But moving on, there's another company, another huge company that is an investor with the World Economic Forum, and it's McKinsey and Company. And they have a huge influence on WEF. They are a huge asset to them, and they have a lot to say about the subject as well, as far as inclusion and because the McKinsey and Company, this is a company that is a global management and consulting firm founded in 1926, and it was founded by James O. McKinsey, sorry, that offers professional services to corporations, governments, and other organizations. And this is what MNC, as short, say benefits the partnering with the World Economic Forum. Also, the World Economic Forum partners with many international organizations. They partner also with many huge corporations, and they do this to run projects addressing global concerns. I mean, what did we see too, especially I think not even a year ago, like we saw especially the Bud Light, the push on inclusion, right? Target, all these companies, right? This is where we kind of like went through the spell of boycotting, and that this is where I believe that these were just test runs to see like how much inclusion the public and the people would be okay with. And we obviously saw a bunch of pushback, a bunch of boycotting. Okay. Awesome stuff, people. We got to keep on keeping on. All right. We got to connect the dots here. We got to connect the dots with ESG, DEI. You know, we got to connect all these dots, because another thing too that the forum talks about, and I say the forum talks about because the corporations are talking about it, are scores, ESG scores, social credit scores. You know, I mean, we're already normalized to what's called a credit score. Okay. And what does the credit score do? It inhibits you, or it allows you to buy and be approved of certain things in this world. Okay. Very, very important stuff. So some of the partners with everything that we've been discussing about, and this is where I said it's going to get a little dry, but let's just knock right through it, okay? We're going to go in alphabetical order, so let's get to it. Accenture, AIG, Alibaba Group, Allianz, Amazon, Brain & Company, Bank of America, Barclays, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, BlackRock, Boston Consulting Group, BP, Bridgewater Associates, Chevron, Cisco, Citi, the Coca-Cola Company, Dell Technologies, Deloitte, Deutsche Bank, DHL Group, E&Y, Goldman Sachs, Google, Howlett, Packard, Enterprise, HP, HSBC, Huawei Technologies, IBM, Intel, Johnson & Johnson, JP & Morgan and Chase, KPMG, Lazard, MasterCard, interesting, McKinsey and Company, Meta, Microsoft, Mitsubishi, Morgan & Stanley, Nestle, Open Society Foundations, George Soros, Planter Technologies, PayPal, PepsiCo, Pfizer, PwC, Protector & Gamble, Qualcomm, Salesforce, Sequoia Capital, Siemens, sorry, Sony, S&P Global, Swiss Re, Uber Technologies, UBS, Verizon, Visa, Volkswagen. Very interesting stuff, because there's a movie that I remember seeing, Repo Men, right? Didn't we talk about you won't you won't need to be on a transplant list anymore, but they'll print one for you. They'll print an organ for you, right? And what I'm saying is, when I'm bringing up that movie, is because the main character in the movie was driving Volkswagen. Very interesting stuff. Volvo, Zurich Insurance Group, and all these companies to like noted knitted together. All right. They're kind of like connected together in some way bigger group, big system that blankets the entire grid, okay, of our corporate system today, of our business system, of our the grid of how the networking and marketing of our world today works. Okay, these people have huge influence, and I think that with this corporate stakeholderism thing that Klaus Schwab talks about is that they can maybe start making decisions about what pertains to your everyday life. Okay, so moving on, Klaus Schwab, he's made many predictions, and he's not only made many predictions, but a lot of these predictions are found in his books. Okay, we'll go over his 4 books that I researched and that I looked up. And Klaus Schwab, he's a writer and creator of a book. I mean, this one took a huge hit right in 2020. He's a creator of a book that's called COVID-19: The Great Reset. So you can say, well, what's the Great Reset mean? Oh, well, let me tell you. I mean, it's an entire reset. It's what when he was talking about, right, like rebuilding capitalism, right? This is a huge reset. This is the World Economic Forum deals with the monetary system, okay? And he wrote this book. It took him 4 months to write this book. Okay, 4 months. I'm giving him 4 months because it was technically almost 3.5. And I say that he had to have write this book around this time because this book was released in July 2020. Like, how was this book released in July 2020, but COVID-19 became a pandemic in mid-March? I mean, is it just me? Like, do we see anything weird? Like, it's weird. And usually I think it takes, especially the people that I've listened to, like they say it takes about 1 to 2 years to write a book. Technically, it took him 3 months. Klaus, you're amazing. You're awesome, dude. I mean, you're smarter than you look. That's for damn sure. Okay. Could COVID-19, the Great Reset, be a layout of how their agenda is going to start to move forward here? And it's in an acceleration process because remember, a lot of these dates, 2030, right? We've got 7 years. Okay. And the COVID-19 Great Reset, it's got a lot of things in there that talk about the breakdown of our society, what COVID-19 did, how it disrupted everything, and how the new system will emerge through the ashes. Okay. The second book that I do want to go over, and this book is called The Fourth Industrial Revolution. All right. And this book discusses the DPI of things, the digital public infrastructure, right? Are we connecting dots yet? Are we starting to like plug things in together here? This is, if you don't know anything about DPI, go back to my previous episode. I think I did say that earlier, but go back to my previous episode. I do give a better description of what it means and how much significance it's going to have in our world in the future. If not, I mean, it's around the corner. A lot of our system is already set up digitally. There's a lot more things that do need to get set up more digitally, and it's going to happen. So a full description of what the book kind of talks about, and it especially goes through the 4 revolutions, industrial revolutions. You know, it talks about in 1784 the steam, water, mechanical production equipment, right? This was the first industrial revolution. The second industrial revolution, 1870, included the division of labor, electricity, mass production of things. Okay. The third industrial revolution, which kind of like we're maybe still in, but we're on our way out of this thing. We're about to birth the fourth. 1969, electronics, right? IT and automated production. We can see a lot more things in our society today is becoming way more automated. And it's just what's discussed in this book. And in this book, he talks about quote, encompassing advances such as AI, robotics, the Internet of Things, IOTA, autonomous vehicles, iRobot, predictive healthcare. What do you mean predictive? And digital identities. And it also focuses on the societal implications of these rapid technology changes. Okay. So if you haven't read that book, go get it. Pretty cool. I've only read a few pages on it. It's as much as the free excerpt I could find online would be able to give me. But it is interesting. It's good to know about these things. It's good to educate yourself about, especially if it's Dr. Evil. Like, what's he saying, right? Third book he writes is called Stakeholder Capitalism. So the second part of this title is also, it's called A Global Economy That Works for Progress, People, and Planet. Okay. So what is stakeholder capitalism? What's stakeholder capitalism? Well, he says that, Schwab says that it's a system in which corporations are oriented to serve the interests of all their stakeholders. To me, this is something that is going to be led headfirst by inclusion. This is not going to be a democracy about things. Okay. These stakeholders are going to have more of a say about capitalism and about how things are going to be ran through society according to the monetary system. And you're going to just be included in it. Inclusion, right? There's that word again, that just to make it make more sense. And we could see it in the culture. We could see it moving around. We could see, you've got to push this hard on culture first. You got to push it hard on culture because that's kind of like what shapes societies, right? And if you don't push it culturally, it won't be normalized. They want to normalize these things. Okay. His fourth book is Forum of Young Global Leaders of Tomorrow. So yes, Dr. Evil, he's got a school. Okay. Like, he's got a school. All right. Where you have to apply, number one, and you have to try to get into this school. It's not easy. It's more of like an accepted, are you a part of the club type initiation. And this is insane. I mean, I don't know why not many people really know much about the school that Schwab and the World Economic Forum actually runs. So a lot of people in our everyday world, people that I'm going to name off, and you're going to be like, wow, okay. I mean, there is a conspiracy, right? Conspire means for people to get together and to do things in opposition, in opposite format of really what they're saying they're doing it for, right? So, I mean, we've got influential people, we've got government people, we've got people in big tech, a part of it, people in big media, we've got high level elites that go to these things and that participate in this school. And if that's not interesting to you guys, I mean, wow, I don't know, pick a different show. But people like Bill Gates, George Soros, Jeff Bezos, Anderson Cooper, Emmanuel Macron, Justin Trudeau, and many more other high figures. Okay. Bill Gates, medical system, George Soros, culture, Jeff Bezos, buying and selling, Anderson Cooper, the medium that tells you pretty much what it is you are supposed to believe in. Okay. Emmanuel Macron, another European elite government official. Justin Trudeau, another government elite official. The list goes on, and I didn't want to be too dry, but we'll keep moving on, okay? And the most unique and absurd title that Klaus Schwab talks about is not only climate change, but it's like when we were talking about, I'm not sure if I mentioned at the beginning of the show, but it's the food industry and the future of your food. And all of this it's in the name of climate change. It's because we're saving the world. Like, this stuff sounds so noble. It's disgusting. Like, I see it disgusting because I see right through the BS. I could see through the bullcrap. Okay. And, he proposes that we're going to eat bugs. We're going to own nothing and be happy. And this is just the inclusion process, okay? And he says that eating bugs is going to help sustain the climate crisis. It's going to help reduce the farming market that we have today, okay? This includes eliminating proteins, meats, and the livestock, okay, of farms. And this is going to put farmers out of work. These people, they dedicate their lives to farming. They dedicate their lives to the land, okay? And the land is life, all right? If you don't have land, go get some. And this could be the end of animals, maybe in general. I don't know. And I do think that, because they see that how the world might be a self-destructing type body, that they're gonna, it seems like they're maybe wanting to save these things for themselves, okay? And that us, the useless class, is going to have to just, we're the useless class, okay? So we're gonna cut over, and I'm gonna let you Yuval Harari talk about the useless class to you. Stand by.
On one hand, the emergence of a new upgraded elite of superhumans enhanced by bioengineering and brain-computer interfaces and things like that. And on the other hand, a new massive useless class, a class that has no military or economic use.
Yeah, that dude is something else. I'd like to kind of get in the ring with some of these people. I mean, to have a conversation, you know what I'm saying? So that's the useless class, okay? And we can see the destruction of the middle class. We can see the destruction and the dividing of the 99% versus the 1%, okay? And I mean, they want you to eat little Bugs Life characters, man. They want you to eat bugs, okay? And let's cut over to another scene here. All right, and we're gonna hear it from their mouth why exactly they believe that eating bugs is an asset for future progress, but they also give their justification behind the entire thing.
Fraction of the resources to grow a pound
Takes
of
a fraction
as it does a pound of beef. And so the amount of water it takes, the greenhouse gas emissions that it emits compared to the livestock, the amount of land that's required, the amount of feed that's required, there are so many factors that just lead to, this is kind of smart.
Yeah, I wasn't joking. Okay, I'm not joking about any of this. This is happening. And if we really don't do something about it, if we don't stand up, if we don't educate ourselves and spread the word, share this show, like people are not gonna, they're not gonna know about this stuff. Okay, they're not gonna know. I mean, they're blaming it on the cow farts, the cow burps, all this stuff. I mean. Well, it's like what I said earlier. Like, we're carbon-based life forms. There's an agenda against carbon. Very interesting fact too. Here, I'll throw it in there. Carbon has 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons. And that number there, I think we're going to definitely start seeing, and it's already being more normalized through entertainment and video production, film. That it's going to be more normalized. People are going to start getting used to it. Okay. Lastly, I'd like to talk about what Klaus proposes about the transhumanism agenda. And he is a proponent for everyone to get vaccinated. And me working in the clinical research field, clinical studies, we work on all kinds of medicines, new advancements in technology. And the biggest thing that's taking off right now is specifically mRNA technology, okay? And the fact about mRNA technology, which the CDC first, discredited this, and the news medias discredited what I'm about to say, and they said it was conspiracy and it was false, okay? But if you do look up peer-reviewed articles, there's a lot of studies now coming out, and that this is what mRNA's purpose is. mRNA vaccines specifically, they do alter your DNA. It's like when Klaus Schwab said, genetic editing. He's not tripping. He knows what he's talking about. And he said it doesn't change what you're doing, but it changes who you are, okay? Transhumanism, okay? And not only is he a proponent for everyone to get vaccinated, for the global vaccination agenda, but he also wants this entire agenda in the entire globe to merge together, okay? And it's the entire genetic editing agenda, okay? He even says in a video clip like that we saw earlier today, okay? I mean, this is just another precursor to a mark of beast type system where you're going to need to have something in order to function in society. You're going to need to be a part of a system, fourth industrial revolution, in order to function in society, all right? And I mean, we can sit here and talk all day about the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, Harari, and many more things that their agenda entails to. But we're gonna conclude the show here. We're gonna conclude it, and I hope everyone learned something. I hope that you who were once asleep is now awake, and that love this and embrace this awakening period. This is awesome stuff. It's time to unplug from this matrix. It's time to unplug from the matrix that these elites have blinded us to. It's almost like we're not capable anymore of keeping our head on a swivel and looking around, doing a 360. What's going on in our environment, what's going on in our society, what's going on in government. People are so distracted by TV shows and entertainment today, and it is what it is. We're at that point, and there's no going back. There's no deconstruction of the matrix. It's too broad. It's too much of the spectrum. But I do appreciate taking this time with you all. It was a lot of fun and good stuff. Before we close out, though, I did want to give a shout out to a local business, and this local business is FRCC, which is First Response Coffee Company, and they're a coffee company with a purpose, and they're also veteran owned, and their motto is everyone goes home. It's not just a saying, it's a way of life. A brotherhood that lives together, trains together, and protects the community together. Few will know what that truly means. The toll it takes, the highs and the lows of a dangerous profession. We at First Responders Coffee Company know and will be there to provide quality coffee and support. So a huge shout out to their business. And if you do want to view their products online, you could check them out at www.frccoffee.com. And they're a small local business out of Longwood, Florida. Real cool people. I actually was on their show with Louis the other day. We had a cool podcast. They are real jam up guys, real cool guys. And also, I want to give a shout out to the Anti-Hero podcast. If you guys don't know, they're on all podcast platforms. They're also on Patreon. Go ahead, subscribe to them. They're also on YouTube. They're on pretty much all platforms. And a huge thank you to Tyler. Tyler, thank you again for connecting with us and the Wise Men. We're trying to expand our profile a little bit more, and he's also been blessing us with that opportunity. Cool stuff. Real awesome, cool stuff. Brent, again, He's the owner of the coffee company, and thank you again. It was an awesome cool time with you guys. Cool studio, cool show. And go ahead and follow them and check out their website. So if you haven't done so yet, and you want to support our show, and you want to be a part of Du Bois Studio, okay? Don't forget to share, subscribe, and to like our videos. It definitely helps us grow our platform. It helps us spread the word of what we like to talk about. And again, I just had a really good time. I had a good time speaking about this type of topics. And this is DMATT signing off. Your friendly brother from The Wise Men. Love you guys. Peace and love.